Yep. Hey guys, welcome to the Big Blue United podcast. My name's TJ. I'm here with Colin. Dan is off tonight. It's been a while. We're back. We wanted to hop on, talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. Show our faces. Let you guys know we're still here. Colin, how are you today?
I'm okay. I'm. It's unfortunate that this Super Bowl is the exact opposite of the one that we all wanted, and that was Washington and the Bills. And we can't have nice things as a country any longer. So why would we have a Super Bowl that's worth watching?
Don't know. You can follow Big Blue United on Facebook, Instagram. Follow us, BB Podboy with a Z on Chode Hitler's platform. That's my new name for him, Chode Hitler. Because he looks like a chode, he acts like Hitler.
Yeah,
Chode Hitler.
Great combo.
It's like pig vomit from Private Parts. If anyone of the listeners remember that.
I watched that movie recently for the first time in years.
Looks like a pig, smells like vomit.
Yeah,
Pig vomit.
Paul Giamatti,
That
poor character.
Well, he's nice in real life.
Yeah, because you met him, because he's been in the bar.
Yeah. Making out with a woman who's not his wife. Don't tell his wife I said that, though. I'm sure she's not a listener of the Big Blue United podcast. So.
And then the funny story of separately, my wife and I seeing him and that same woman who's not his wife on the street in Brooklyn near Atlantic Avenue.
My Alexa is talking. Sorry about that. I don't understand why.
Oh.
Anyway, and then The Sandlot was on the TV, and he had never seen it, which I thought was strange, or heard of it. I was like, I mean, maybe that's just a millennial, like it's an elder millennial style movie, maybe, younger Gen X, but you're in show business.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I think maybe he's one of these characters as a person and as an actor. Maybe he doesn't care about movies at all, and he just does it as a job.
Just in it for the money.
Well, or maybe he just has interest outside of it instead of watching it. He's like, oh, I got to do this gig, and the movie's going to come out. I'll see the finished product, and then I'll never think of it ever again. Who knows?
I can see that. All right, let's Super Bowl, Colin. Obviously, every team I was rooting for lost the games they were in, and then we ended up with the Super Bowl that nobody wanted. I guess what I really want to know is you're rooting for the Chiefs, right?
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay, cool.
I would rather the Chiefs win the next 6 Super Bowls than the Eagles win ever again.
I completely agree with you, and I did want to discuss briefly about some Giants fans who I know who are rooting for the Eagles. And all I have to say to those people is that you're rooting for the Eagles because you don't want the three-peat, or you are a fan of Saquon Barkley, you should get out.
Yeah. I'll help you pack.
I'll help you pack. Exactly. Love it or leave it, man. You don't root for the Eagles as a Giants fan for any reason.
I was telling this to my dad the other day. It's almost possible, at least just with the way that things have gone the last couple of years. I might hate the Eagles more than the Cowboys at this point.
Yeah, actually, Colin, I was having this discussion recently with a Commanders fan, actually. And we both simultaneously were just like, oh, well, the Super Bowl sucks, but you know what? Yeah, fuck Philly. We both said it at the same time.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm really looking forward to just hating the Commanders more than probably the Eagles and the Cowboys in the next 3 or 4 years, I'm sure, when they're dominating the division.
It's going to take a lot. Mostly because Washington has just been so maligned for so many years that, what is the Commanders are the aforementioned our team that Dan likes to say constantly that I won't even go out there and say what they were used to be called. They have. I feel stupid. They have 2 Super Bowls or 1?
I believe 3.
What do I miss? Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. So that's fine. Whatever. Different teams. The 80s were a different era. It's going to take a lot. I mean, you saw it in the playoffs. Yeah, it was entertaining. Washington was good throughout, and then it got to the point where the experience wasn't there, and it was clear that they weren't going to be getting over that hump this season. But yeah, they're going to be a problem. And you know what? That's fine with me, because that means 3 teams that are going to continuously kick our ass every year, we eventually have to, fight back. So
no, No, you don't.
Well, I don't know no, and it doesn't seem like we are, but like if all three of them are good and we're still in the basement, because Washington has been like, they've been all right. They've done some decent things in the last 5 years or so, but like this is on another level. It's exciting. We need someone exciting like that, and yeah, that would have been really cool to watch them in the Super Bowl. But now we have to watch these awful teams that everybody hates, and I'm sure you've gotten this. And it's always the people, and sometimes they're Giant fans themselves. It's like that low-hanging fruit question. They're just like, oh, yeah, you must be so pissed off about Saquon, right? And I'm like, nope, no, I'm not. Don't care at all, because we weren't going to pay him. I've said it countless times. I'm glad he's not on the team anymore. It's a shame he went to that team, and he's finally behind an offensive line that's the best in the league. So good for him. Great.
I mean, I'm not happy that he's not on the team. I think the Giants would be a better team with him on it, obviously.
Not a winning team, though.
I just don't – yeah, it's just not a place where a team who is in a situation the Giants are in such a – now specifically in the midst of the rebuild after you admit that your starting quarterback wasn't the guy that you gave that ridiculous contract to. Saquon wasn't going to, help you win any games. He was just wasting away on this team. I think Saquon's a good dude. He says the right things. He does the right things for the most part. I'm happy for him that he had a great year. I hate the Eagles. I wish he wasn't on the Eagles. If he was on a different team, I probably would root for him. But, he's on the Eagles. And then, you know what? If Jesus came out and said the Eagles have to win to save the world, I would be like, let's go Satan. Yeah. That's where I'm at. So
absolutely,
you're every player on the Eagles. I hate you.
Yeah,
and no matter what, for any reason.
I do have to bring up that we're usually not a huge fan of the guy on the old X platform, but Chuck Knox and all his videos going back the last couple of years, we shared a tweet, or Dan shared a tweet with us about him basically breaking down the fallacy and the PR team magic that Saquon's team did for him on his way out, about him being the victim, about him not being respected by the Giants. And people are so quick to forget what the numbers actually were. And he was offered more. He was offered more money, and he went to that team because he knew that he'd have a better chance of winning, which I can't blame him. However,
he also went to Penn State, people forget that.
But like enough with the, oh my God, I was in such a crappy situation and I needed to get out. Yeah. They were so bad to me. No, you were going to make more money to be on a bad team. So don't pull that crap. Just say what it is. You wanted to win. And that's okay.
Masterfully done by his people, by the way. And the Hard Knocks thing played right into their hand. And it made it seem like exactly the Giants didn't want him back. But yeah, they offered him, I think a deal that was $500,000 less overall, not per year, than the Eagles offered him. And then obviously you just mentioned how two other teams that have remained unnamed offered him even more money than the Eagles gave him. And then the Giants, prior to this offseason, the previous offseason, I believe, wanted to give him $14 million a year, and his camp declined it because he, thought that he's worth more than that. And you know what? Perhaps he is worth more than that. But at the time, I think the running back market might change a little bit just because of him and Derrick Henry success this year. It only takes, a couple guys to really reset the market like that. So I don't think that at that point the Giants had any reason to pay him, nor do they have any reason to pay him last offseason.
And that goes back to that question that these fellow Giant fans and non-Giant fans ask about are, as fans ourselves, are feeling about him leaving. It's just like, it doesn't really faze me at all. Like it needed to happen. It was a necessary evil to continue the rebuild that we are in the process of right now, because that's money spent elsewhere that we actually need it. And we could see from Mr. Tracy from this past year that he's got enough talent to be a starting caliber running back. And you get a good line in front of him, that guy, what he did this past year with a upgraded, but not that upgraded line with injury problems and all that kind of stuff. He looked great. He looked great as a rookie. He's only going to get better with the experience. And I'm not worried about the running backs. And that's
no.
Philadelphia, awful fans, awful sports. Sad they're back in the Super Bowl. Go Chiefs.
Yeah, the one thing that we can guarantee is that win or lose, people will be out in Philadelphia on Broad Street eating handfuls of horse shit and presumably shooting guns into the air indiscriminately like they did last weekend.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and it's going to be put down.
Great place to raise your kids.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Cheesesteaks are good.
Well,
Are they?
Not Pat's and whatever that other baloney place. You go
Geno's?
somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I have a buddy from Philly. He told me like where to go, but I'm not going to mention any of these places because I don't think that they deserve to be mentioned on this podcast.
Oh, no. We're not going to be uplifting any place of business in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah. I'll just get a chopped cheese, whatever. Suck my balls.
Yeah.
That was a little much. So yeah, just realistically, I do think the Chiefs are going to win. I think they're a better team. I think that they're better coached, more importantly, and I think they're going to be more prepared. And if worse comes to worse, it's the fourth quarter. There's 1 minute left. It's 4th and 14. Patrick Mahomes back to pass, incomplete, gets just mildly grazed by a Philadelphia player. 15 yards. First down, the next play is a touchdown pass to Kelsey, ends the game. And then Kelsey proposes to Taylor Swift. The odds are plus 750 on that prop bet, if you were wondering. And I'm thinking I might take it.
Well, I mean, I don't blame you. I think, have you seen in the press this week that I wish I can remember the guy's name, but I think he's a bit of a rogue journalist. He's been outright asking hilarious questions to both Mahomes and Kelsey about who their favorite ref is.
Did he go? Who do you like more? What do you like more, Taylor Swift or Phantom Pass or Phantom passer calls?
Phantom flags, which is incredible. That's just like
amazing.
My favorite thing. And Travis, like at least Mahomes had a little bit of a smile and he laughed a little bit, but Kelsey was just instantly pissed off. It's like, well, guy, you brought it upon yourself. You guys have, I mean, it's been absolutely disgusting, the refereeing in their games. And I saw something briefly, and it might be just some conspiracy theory, internet stuff, but some guy was just like, Clete Blakeman, the head ref from last week's game, was in Vegas the day before the game, and he's like on cameras and stuff, and it's just like, well, is he throwing the game for Vegas numbers and all this kind of stuff? And I wouldn't be surprised at all. But, I mean, hey, if nothing else, we can root for the one and only Steve Spagnuolo. And that's what we're going to have to hang our head on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really jump on conspiracy theories. I know they're very popular nowadays, but I don't think the NFL is rigged. I never have thought the NFL is rigged. I know there are people who feel that way. I think that it's difficult to make those calls, and I think that they should expand replay as much as possible. I think some of the expansion of replay that they've done this year is actually really good, especially being able to pick up flags after somebody in an office who's watched the play from 8 angles can just radio the ref in his head and said, pick up the flag. There's no way. I mean, I guess some of these things are still discretionary. I don't know if roughing the passer is a flag you're allowed to pick up. There are specific rules about it. I'm not 100% sure if that's a reviewable penalty or not.
It felt like that game, this past game, the championship game, it was almost like they were letting them play for a real long time, and then all of a sudden, oh, there we go. There's the flag. There's what you need to get it back into right order. And that's what makes people feel weird, because it's like you're supposed to let the guys play in the playoffs. That's when it's the most fun. I mean, regular season, who knows what kind of crazy directives that Goodell passes down to the referees about what they're supposed to call quotas and all this kind of crap. The playoffs are supposed to be opened up a little bit. And if it's not, and it happens to be the red and white team from Kansas City who's getting all these calls, it's like, it's hard not to think everybody likes greatness. And there's never been a there's never been a three-peat?
No, maybe the first time in the NFL.
Yeah, and so the NFL wants it for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they do. It's good. I mean, as much as people dislike these sort of dynasty teams like the Patriots and stuff, people talk about it. When people get mad, they engage in things more. I think that's very obvious just based upon, our social media culture that we live in now. And all the vitriol being spit all the time is because it gets people mad. And when people get mad, they get active about things. And then they make clicks and stuff like that. So I think it's very beneficial for there to be like a bad guy for everybody. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, when I'm telling people I'm rooting for the Chiefs, they're like, "How can you root for the Chiefs?" I'm like, the Eagles. Like, how can you root for the Eagles? Give me a break.
No.
Oh, sickening. Nick Sirianni. Like, give me a break.
The only time that I ever I don't even say I was rooting for them, but when it was Eagles, Patriots in that Super Bowl, I couldn't help but be like, I really don't like it, but I really, really hate Tom Brady's face. So that's like, I don't know. It sounds like a similar situation to now, but it's not. It isn't.
That was the closest I ever got to rooting for the Eagles, and I just sort of just ended up not rooting for anybody. But I was happy. I was more happy that Tom Brady lost than the Eagles won. If that's like where my headspace was at.
And that's how I am as a baseball fan. I hate the Red Sox more than I like the Yankees.
And usually it's the other way around, that people hate the Yankees more than the team they like.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care that much about baseball.
Yeah, me either.
I do love going to Mets games though.
Yeah, Metsies.
Yeah. Except they got rid of the smoking section at Citi Field, which is one of the biggest travesties, I think, in the history of humanity, or at least the history of Queens, New York City. Because what we affectionately refer to as Scumbag Alley was this staircase down at the end of that bridge that they have in the outfield. And there's like a whole bunch of vendors in that area, like behind where the big Jumbotron is, or whatever you call it. And there's a staircase down there. You used to go down there, you could smoke cigs, do whatever you wanted, really. There'd be a bunch of shitheads down there. Scumbag Alley, exactly. Us included. And, I used to like to hang out there. And but it just really gives you a real good view of New York, what the real New Yorkers like,
But when I went to that game with your brother, Adam, and I can't even call him by his last name, but I won't do it, and another fellow from our Somers upbringing, there was a new Scumbag Alley that we saw from our seats. It's a little bit higher up. You have to go higher up in the stadium, and it's like this ramp to nowhere. And we saw some people over there, so it might be a new spot.
Is it sanctioned though? Because the original Scumbag Alley was sanctioned, which is a difficult thing to get in a sports stadium. Which is actually one of the reasons I people always talk a lot of shit about MetLife. The one thing I really love about MetLife is that you can go outside, and then come back to your seat.
It's true.
It's great. It's wonderful. I don't know why. Like you go see a Yankee game. You can't do anything.
No.
They just want your money. Yeah. But going back to what you said, it's just like when you stop the sanctioned area, then people are just going to be smoking in the stadium, like wherever.
Yeah, I mean,
it's inevitable.
Hey, and we were talking about stadiums. There's that whole, the new soccer stadium that's going to be across the way there, and that whole promenade. And there's going to be all sorts of interesting things going on in the stadium. Can't wait for that. And I'm sure we'll have a whole rundown of that.
The one thing I'm the most interested in is they're going to be selling marijuana edibles at the stadium.
It's
as far as I can tell from what I was reading.
It's not definite, but it's on the table, which is more than anything you can say about anywhere else. But we'll see. People generally act more like shitheads when they drink than when they smoke marijuana. So I think it's probably for the beneficial to society, people driving, just the overall cleanliness and atmosphere of the stadium. Yeah. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's talk a little bit about some Giant stuff since we're here.
Sure.
Why not, Colin? I know we mentioned Saquon, but that was, a little bit more towards our Eagles conversation there.
Yeah.
What I was trying to do today was just kind of identifying to myself what I think the Giants need to do position-wise and upgrades to sort of improve and what would kind of be a realistic sort of plan in my head. I'm curious, in your mind, what do you think are the positions that absolutely need to be upgraded. Like, no questions asked, we need a new player at that position.
Well, I mean,
other than quarterback.
Oh, okay. Well, because I mean, that's where it starts with everything.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that too, because I think there's been some cool news about quarterback for the Giants. So
yeah,
well, not cool, but news that exists.
Automatic upgrades. I mean, I think I'll be heading to my grave asking for more offensive line help.
Yes.
When I'm an old man, I'm going to continue to beat that drum because I can never believe you can draft enough talent at those positions, especially given the lead pipe drill era of this NFL that we've been living through. There's injuries all over the place, and
so many.
It's clear that if you are going to win any sort of game with any sort of quarterback, you're going to have to protect that quarterback and establish a running game. So how do you do that? Well, you have to actually draft well at the front of attack there. So, yeah, before anything else, I mean, you upgrade there. And then, not to do the whole trophy thing, but you win in the trenches, and that's on the other side too. Never be complacent with the best defensive tackle in the league and our captain on the defensive side of things. You can always get more help for him at the defensive tackle and pass rush in general. I mean, you got Kayvon, who's going into his 5th year.
Yeah, this will be his 5th. No, this is his 4th year. They haven't picked up his 5th year option yet.
I say
which will be for about $16 million in 2026.
Yeah, that's an absolute prove it year kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you know how I like to describe him? I heard Steve Smith say this word. You're the guy. You're a jag. You're just a guy.
Right now, he's just a guy for sure.
Yeah.
Because if you are considering yourself a premier pass rusher in this league, you can't disappear. You can't have games where you're just not affecting anything. You can have down games where maybe you have only, 3 tackles and only QB pressures and not 1 sack. Yeah, that's understandable. You're still affecting the game. That's all good. But you can't just disappear from the stat line, period. And he's been doing that. And I mean, last year was a good year. This year was a bad year. You can't
not great for him. No.
So, going to
I'm with you.
Your question, it's the lines. First the lines, and then probably secondary after that.
Yeah, I was gonna really jump on. I think that Runyon is a decent fixture. He can stay. I think Illuminor has sort of proven that he wants to play right tackle and that he can play right tackle, because when he didn't come play the left a little bit, he did probably do the best other than Andrew Thomas. I think really it's all predicated on Andrew Thomas staying healthy. I think I was seeing like in games he's played in the last 2 seasons, they're 6-10 games he hasn't played in. They're 3-15.
It's wild.
So I think that you're going to need another guard, and I don't think John Michael Schmitz is going to be your answer at center either.
No.
So, and in terms of like needing depth, absolutely, but I think you're going to need a starting center and a starting guard on the right side to pair with Illuminor over there. That being said, if they want like Illuminor better at guard, maybe they go pick up a right tackle. There's actually a few decent options available on free agency wise that I think the Giants could spend on, or obviously the draft is always the better way to do this. So
is Evan Neal at all part of this future plan?
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe try him at guard. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if he's athletic enough to kick out on some run plays, but perhaps he is. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if he has it with him at all for the sanctity of staying in the league, of trying something out of his wheelhouse, because it's clear it's not working where he is. He can't break a starting lineup. And when he's in there, although he had a couple of games this past season that were surprising at best.
They were okay.
Okay. So imagine if you're not out on an island, you have help, and you're closer to the center. I don't know. It does wonders for guys that haven't been able to fulfill their expectations on the outsides. Kick them in. And they had talent in college. It was clear. Maybe it doesn't translate to the top level. Okay, great. Try him at a quote unquote easier position before he washes out.
which is, I think, inevitable, unfortunately. But I think, I'm with you. It's worth a shot. You invested the number 7 pick on this guy, so you'd like to get some production out of him. I mean, it hasn't been great, obviously.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm just like, and it also it must weigh pretty heavy on Shane too. I'm sure he's trying his hardest to squeeze some talent out of this guy before he has to call that a full loss.
Yeah, it's a bummer that when that draft happened, I think we were all like so thrilled about getting 2 stalwart guys on the line, and then you end up with a bust and someone who is not reaching the potential that you thought they would. The jag of Kayvon Thibodeau, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have to agree. I think Aziz is going to walk this year. I don't think they're going to pay him any amount of money to stay as a rotational pass rusher. So the Giants are really going to need a rotational pass rusher behind Burns and Thibodeau. And then, interior defensive line last year was bad. I don't think Nunez Roches is a starter in the NFL.
No. Rotational guy, sure.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that with Leonard Williams gone, even though Dexter Lawrence had, 9 sacks in 12 games, he was actually, having to beat a lot more double teams alone and stuff like that. So
and triple teams.
Yeah, I think if you put a guy next to him that can eat up space and has some talent, whether in the run game or being a pass rusher from the interior, it's only going to open up everything for the defense. And maybe finally we can see, these guys up front, actually put in the work. Brian Burns doesn't have fantastic stats, but he has a lot more pressures than he does sacks. Yeah. I think, people kind of lamented him last year, but I think he was a great player for the Giants. I think he's going to be a great player for the Giants. But, the more help they get around these guys, obviously it's easier for them to succeed. And then, the secondary, I just don't – Deonte Banks to me is not it.
Not number one.
I think he can be CB2. I just don't think that he has the mental fortitude and the ball skills to be a number 1 cornerback. Giving up on plays and when times are bad, he gets even worse. That's not really qualities you have in a guy who you want to go up against, number 1 receivers in the NFL. And
I mean, who knows? Maybe something as different as getting this new secondary coach that we got, and I'm at a loss for his name right now, but I know he was with the Jets and he was with the Texans, I believe, too. And I don't really know that much about him, so we got to dig into him in the offseason and see what he's, if he's good with developing young talent and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it was clear that Banks regressed, so it's not, I don't want to call him a bust yet. I want to develop him more because I think he has talent. And he might not have the top tier talent that like another number 1 on someone else's team would have. But if he gets the mental side of things down, you can make up for your perceived lack of talent just by being smart out there and building up your mental fortitude like you're talking about. So, yeah, I'm not done with him. I think he's going in his 3rd season. He needs another shot, but he also needs to not feel like he's by himself. And it would be pretty great to get someone who can light a fire under his ass, talent-wise, as a rookie. That said, I don't know. There's so many different ways this draft can go, and I don't even want to touch upon how we're going to go about that yet because we got plenty of this offseason to do. But I think there's a lot of very different scenarios that could be very exciting as we always get this hope in this time of year. Although it's been less because it feels like nothing happens that's good. But we have to have the hope. It's February.
I mean, the Giants are bad. This is their opportunity to get better. So, I know that this is something that's always been exciting for the 3 of us and a lot of other fans. So,
and there's continuity.
I mean, yes, let's just hope for positivity. Hope that, they can hit on some draft picks and people will start producing earlier than later, which has been a difficult thing for the Giants to do over the past, decade.
Total different era, different scenarios, and different players, different league. But people have to remember, too, I mean, I think it was 2 or 3 seasons of absolute drivel from Bill Parcells before anything good started to happen. So between George Young coming on as the GM in 77 or 76, whatever it was, and then building through the draft for the next couple of years. And this was prior to free agency. So it was really the draft more than anything else. There's still hope that this regime can start to see the fruits of their labor. And people forget, too, this past year, it was a crap year, don't get me wrong. But the draft class wasn't that bad.
True.
Well, it really wasn't. I mean, there's some good players that came out of this.
Yeah, I mean, the best player on your team or the best offensive player on your team was drafted last year. You hit on a cornerback in the third round who's going to be a starting slot corner for you for a long time, probably, among other guys that had productive seasons. I think are only going to get better.
Yeah.
But Colin, I know you don't want to talk about. No, we don't want to talk too much about the draft. But where are you going in your mind, QB wise, for this team next year? Is it the third overall selection? Are we a second round? Is it a bridge quarterback? Is it a combination of some of those things?
I'll say it. I don't know where the quarterback's going to be drafted. However, number one, a at least eventual starting quarterback caliber talent needs to be drafted, and there needs to be a bridge quarterback brought in. That is a automatic. If you do not bring the veteran in and you do not try to draft the best talent at quarterback, then it is a failure as a draft, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And that's regardless of what people think, that this is not a good draft for quarterbacks. It doesn't matter. It is a what have you done for me lately league, and we're in a spot where you can get at least the top of the talent. And that goes for the second round too, because people say this is a deep draft. So say it's a best player available situation and both Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are out. Okay, well, then you got at 3, if you want to stay at 3, you could do the Abdul Carter. You could do the Will Johnson. You could do the Travis Hunter. There's
a lot of good players available.
Yeah,
and they're going to be available at 3. That's not a quarterback.
You could, if you wanted to, trade up into the end of the first round and then try to get a quarterback there, or stay at a pretty good pick. What is it? The third? It's either the second or the third pick in the second round.
They have the second pick in the second round, the first pick in the third round, and the third pick in the first round.
Great spots to be in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sticking with that, and I wanted to tag on the little back and forth that Dan and I had this morning about how, just because we know we're not going to win a lot of games this upcoming year, how fun would it be to have someone like Jameis Winston as that bridge quarterback, and then also draft someone who's really, really high in talent. I think it would just be, even if we win the same amount of games we won this year, I think we'd enjoy it a hell of a lot more. From just a pure entertainment aspect of it, I think he'd try his ass off for Dable.
I want Winston to be the quarterback really bad. I think he's fun. He plays like a jackass, but he shows moments of absolute brilliance in between throwing 3 picks and stuff like that. So,
balls.
I think it's good. I think him and Justin Fields are probably your go-to, guys to go after this offseason.
Those are
the other guys I have on my list. It's like, if you want to go old, go like Flacco or Dalton.
No, I don't think that's it.
I think that the line isn't going to be good enough to have a statue back there. I'm with you on that. And then on the bottom of my list, I'm like, what about Trey Lance or Zach Wilson? Like, we haven't maybe we've seen resurgences from Geno Smith, Sam Darnold. I don't know.
I mean, that's on the table too. I mean, I wouldn't even rule out, even if Sam Darnold looked like absolute dog crap in that last game that he was playing in, I don't think that rules him out. He's a higher end money-wise, maybe not the smartest signing. However, his crappy game might have helped us on that front.
Yeah.
I know it's just one game, but he had an incredible season, and that would be kind of a situation where we're looking to sign him and being totally okay if he ends up being the quarterback the next 4 years, Yeah,
that's why I just don't see that happening.
Yeah.
I think that the Giants are going to look to draft somebody to be the quarterback of the future. And I feel like it's just weird that we've been hearing so much of the Sanders talk. The Giants are going to draft him. He wore the cleats. He's been in the building, all this, playing catch with neighbors, all this stuff. it just seems so odd to me that Shane would be showing his hand like that so early and so obviously, that there has to be more depth to this situation than the Giants like him this much and they're going to pick him if he's there. That just seems too obvious.
I think it's two things. I think, A, we really like him. It is what it is. Scream it up from the top of our lungs on the mountaintop. Giants love Shedeur. Okay, great. Number 2, drive up that price and make people want to trade up to that spot.
That's a really good point. I hadn't really fully considered. Perhaps they are thinking about trading down just because you're at 3, you have so many holes and you could potentially fill, one of those big holes with a guy right away.
Great spot.
I mean, that's where my head's at. But, that being said, too, if you have a lot of holes, maybe trading down and accumulating picks and accumulating more talent rather than just the best talent is the prerogative for them this offseason.
It's going to be tough. We're in the exact situation that the Patriots were in last year that we wanted to trade up to, which is interesting because, yeah, talent changes from draft to draft. I get that. But one man's trash is another man's treasure. And I don't mean that literally trash, but everybody's rated differently by every team. Every organization has a different idea of who their best player at a position is going to be. So you can get someone who's super chomping at the bit for a Shedeur Sanders. And is there an option where we take him and then, okay, here's our quarterback. We got to, let's see if he works out. Sure.
I wouldn't be upset if they were going to take. I think that we've just been in purgatory for so long and having to deal with Daniel Jones, watching him play for 6 years, and for some reason the Giants didn't want to upgrade the position, after the 3rd or 4th year, which is beyond me because they won one playoff game.
But you can't force it either.
Yeah, if the Giants pick quarterback at 3, Ward or Sanders are available, I think we're all going to be happy. Yeah. I think every Giants fan will be happy. If they end up sucking, then we're back to square one. But you have, like you said before, you got to take shots, especially at the quarterback position.
As long as Gettleman doesn't swoop in somehow, drop into the building the night of, and then draft Jackson Dart at 3, we're going to be fine.
All right. Yeah, we'll save some more of this offseason talk for later. Colin, you want to mention anything else before we go?
Oh, I don't know. I think that was a good talk. The playoffs were, for the most part, fun to watch. I mean, I think it was a entertaining couple of weeks. We are certainly used to not being involved in it, but the offseason's going to be moving quick, and we're going to be, all of a sudden it's going to be the end of April, and we're hopefully going to be hanging out with our college friends that we never get to see on the NFL draft anymore. So let's get that going.
Let's go. All right. Thank you guys for listening. You can follow Big Blue United, Facebook, Twitter, Chode Nazi, and BBU Pabos of the Z on Chode Nazi. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.